Okay, class, today we're doing Module 1 Foundation Algebra, A.REI.3, Level 1 Reteach. So the first thing we're going to do is put our name on it, and we need to solve the following equations. So on this one, the way I would solve this one is I would add 8 to both sides. I want to isolate the variable, so when I add 8 to both sides, this cancels out and I get 15. Then I know I have a fraction, so I can either take the reciprocal, but sometimes people like to just take the denominator and multiply it by 7. Then you get 6x equals 105, divide by 6, and x equals 17, and 1 over 2, or 35 over 2. So those are my two answers. I simplified it. Taking a look at the next one, I notice that I have all these D's. I need to combine them. So what I did is I took I put the positive D down, and I know there's a 1 there. I have a minus 60 plus 8 equals 0. Then I'm going to combine these, and I get a negative D plus 8 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 8 to both sides. I get a negative D equals negative 8. Divide by negative 1. Two negatives make a positive, and I get D equals 1. Now this one I could have done with like question number 1, but this time I want to do it by getting rid of all of the fractions at one time. So I'm going to look at the denominator, and my denominator is 5. So therefore I am going to multiply everything by 5. So I'm going to share with each term with a 5. Cross that out and I get 3p's. Cross that out and I get a plus 8. And then the one thing you have to remember is 1 times 5 is 5. And I subtract 8 and I get 3p equals negative 3. Divide by 3 and p equals negative 1. Taking a look at the next one, the first thing I need to do on this one is I need to distribute. So I get 70 equals 2 negatives make a positive 14. 2 negatives make a positive 14x. And then I'm going to subtract 14 to both sides. This cancels out, and I get 56 equals 14x. Then I'm going to divide by 14, and when I divide by 14, I get x equals 4. And then this one, I see that I have a denominator of negative 5, so again, I'm going to multiply everything by a negative 5. So I'm going to multiply this by a negative 5 and this by a negative 5. These cancels out. 2 negatives make a positive, so I get a positive 75, and then I have a negative 2 plus y. I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get a 77 equals y. And then over here, I'm going to distribute, and I get a negative 8. X minus 3x minus 6 minus 4 plus x equals 0. Now at this time, I'm going to be looking for all the x's that I have in common. And that's what I noticed here. There's a 1 here, negative 8, and negative 3 is negative 11, plus 1 is going to get me a negative 10x. And then I add these together. I get a negative 10 equals 0. Then I'm going to add 10 to both sides. And I get a negative 10x equals 10. I'm going to divide by negative 10, and x equals negative 1. Taking a look at the next one. So now we're doing inequalities. So inequalities is very similar to equations. So again, I'm going to just multiply by my common denominator. It would be 6. You would never use the smaller one. So I would never say 3. It's got to be bigger than the biggest number. So it can never be smaller. So I'm going to share with 6 with each term. The 6 crosses out, and I get a negative 1x. 6 times 4 is a negative 24. The 3 goes into here, and it's twice. So now I'm going to add 24 to both sides. And when I add 24, I get a negative 1x is less than 26. I'm going to divide by negative 1, and x. And when I divide by a negative 1, remember to switch that inequality sign to a negative 26. Now I know that this is going to be an open dot. So I'm going to put a negative 26 here. I got an open dot. I need to have some numbers above and below it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go to my right. Keep in mind, you always want the variable first. So you want to keep the variable always on your left side. On the next one, I'm going to distribute. So I got p plus 10 equals negative 2p. Two negatives make a positive 48 is greater than 0. Then I'm going to combine like terms. Combine like terms. And this, I shouldn't have written here. There's was just a minus 2p. I don't know why I put an equal sign. I'm going to combine like terms. So I have a p and a minus p. So that's going to get me a negative p. Then I'm going to add these. I'm going to get a positive 58 is greater than 0. Then I'm going to subtract 58. So I get a negative p is greater than negative 58. I got to divide by a negative 1. When you divide, hello, we have to switch the inequality sign. And two negatives make a positive. So my answer is 58. So I'll put 58 on here, 59, 57. It is an open dot because there's no line underneath it. The arrow is pointing towards the p, so I'm going to be going to my left. And finally, we're going to distribute over here. So we have a negative 53 is greater than, that's going to get me a negative 9x minus 9, negative 3 times 3 plus 3x. I'm going to combine like terms, so I get a negative 53 is greater than, and that's going to get me a negative 6x minus 9. Then I'm going to add 9, and when I add 9, I'm going to get negative 44 is greater than negative 6x. I'm going to divide by negative 6. Again, I'm dividing by negative 6. So that means I have to switch the inequality sign. So, and I'm going to reduce because I know two negatives make a positive. I can divide 44 and 6 by 2. So I get 22 over 3. And I'm going to switch the inequality sign. But in order to graph, you always have to have the variable on the left side. So you can graph, and it has to be x is greater than 22 over 3. Or you could say x is greater than 7 1/3. Or you could say x is greater than 7.3, repeating. So those are my 3 answers. And then I'm going to come here and go 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to put an open dot, and I'm going to be going to my right. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.